Just before we start really quick, I just want to let it be known that most of the clips I'm going to show are screenshots for this video, and whenever there's gameplay footage, it's just because I want to have a voiceover for that, background, that sort of thing. Also, I'm going to put a timestamp for when I actually start showing off the game shelf on screen right here. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. So back in Little Evil Dragon's Pass, he got home from school one day, and the first thing he does when he gets home is he throws his backpack on the ground, grabs one of his games, pops it into his TV on his Wii, and he plays whatever at the time, Super Smash Brothers, probably. That was a good game. From there, once he finished playing, he goes ahead and puts it into his cupboard, and then he goes ahead and leaves. And he puts it horizontally. But what if that changed? And instead he took the game, instead of putting it horizontally, he put it on a bookshelf vertically. Holy shit! So that's obviously a very, Minecrafty recreation of what happened, but it's sort of what happened. It wasn't very that early. I mean, for me, it was a PS4, not a Wii, But I realized one day, what if instead of buying digital games, at the time I was buying games digitally because, you get PlayStation cards or whatever, and, you want to buy stuff on it like that. It's like, what if instead of doing that, I just buy the hard case, the physical copy. I wasn't new to that stuff. I mean, I had physical copies for other systems. What if I just put it on a shelf and made it look nice? What if I started collecting retro games? And that's what I did one year, a couple years ago. And ever since, I've gathered a lot of stuff, and this is what I'm up to now. So this is my game shelf, what I've put a lot of time to, collect stuff over the past couple of years. I've always been fascinated in retro video games, stuff from the 80s, the 90s, even now the early 2000s. And I've seen people, post their own retro game shelf or game room reviews, and I've always wanted to do something like that myself. So that's what I was going to do, just with screenshots, no clips, but I was going to go more into detail on each individual shelf and whatever. But yeah, this is what I got. I mean, I've got quite a few consoles. I like to play a lot of different games. Right now, I'm loving the 360 and the GameCube, but of course, that can always be subject to change. But before we get to that, the main stuff, the cream of the crop, we'll start here at my little secondary area. Right up top, we have my Wii U gamepad, where it just sits on its nice stand to remind me that it might not have been the best console, but let's be honest, the Wii U still had some amazing gems, like ZombiU, or Super Mario Maker. Heck, even at the time, I loved Mario Kart 8, which I have digitally, but not in a game case, but I'll get eventually. Then on the next row, I just have a PS5 stand and some of the PSVR movesets, which you can actually see my VR on the left side there. The next shelf is just some controllers, like N64 and SNES controllers, a couple third-party controllers, but I always have one first-party controller for myself. If I have, company and friends over, they can use the third-party, okay? The bottom shelf there is just a box, a cool Pokemon box, which contains all my cords, all my extra stuff I need to hook up something to my TV, or hook something up to charge. For example, the Wii U gamepad, you always have to charge it, so the cord's in there. Moving on, before we get to the main shelf, here are all the boxes I've collected. I tend to keep the boxes afterwards as well, so you can see at the bottom, I have my PSVR box and the PS5 cooling system box. Then I have the Wii U box, the Wii box, 2 Switch boxes, which is cool, a couple of video game boxes like Pokemon Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, PS5 controller box, and you don't see my PS5 or PS4 box here because there was no space, but I do have them. They're actually underneath where I play, underneath my desk, which is also very nice. Now moving on, we'll get to the cream of the crop, the thing I've worked a lot on, the actual games themselves, the game shelf. Okay, now with that out of the way, we'll go to the main, 2 shelves here. You can kind of see the split in the side there. Now, we're probably going to just start from the top to the bottom. It's just the most simple. And like I said, we're going to go from each individual shelf down. I'll detail certain games, certain points that I like, and eventually, towards the end of the video, I'm going to answer a bunch of the usual questions people have for collectors, which is like, what's your rarest game? Do you have all the must-haves? What's your favorite game? What console do you play the most? That sort of thing. So let's dive into the first shelf here, which is the 4 consoles at the top, and my Wii wheel and some Wii controllers. So at the far left, we have the SNES, good gaming console, you know. It has a lot of fun games. I just put it on the shelf back recently as I played all of the stuff I have for it. Then we have the Wii U, which is right next to the Wii. Usually I haven't really hooked up the Wii in a long time, because if I'm going to play Wii games, I just hook up the Wii U. It's still slightly better resolution and whatnot. I mean, you can use the Wii, you know, but I mean, if you have the Wii option on the Wii U, I just, you know, better back end resolution and whatnot. And then finally we have the GameCube with some, next to some Wii controllers there. Fun console, absolutely love it. I'm going to be hooking it up back soon to play some new games. Next shelf we have at the very top is my NES. I haven't really used it too much, as I only have 3 games for it, but I've beaten all the games I have for it, so that's why I haven't really played it a lot since, because I'm not really looking for NES games at the moment, but again, I will start going for that selection after I get some of the other game sections done, like say Wii U for example. On top of the NES, we have my N64, my favorite console of all time, hands down. Absolutely amazing games. Below we have the Switch with the Wii U games. Usually I have my Switch hooked up, but at the time I thought it's small enough to fit on the shelf, I'll put it up here. Next to it, again, Wii U games. Certain Wii titles are awesome. Zombie U, as I mentioned, Mario Kart. Nintendo Land is very fun. It's kind of like the Wii Sports of the Wii U. That's a really good one. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, the last mainline in the Donkey Kong Country Returns series. Absolutely great platformer if you have a chance to play it. And I recommend don't play Mario Party 10. Bad Mario Party game. I just have it more of as a collectible, but it's still fun. Onto these 2 shelves here, we have the 360 games up on the top there. 360 is always a fun one. I have it hooked up currently as I'm playing the first Gears of War. I never played it before. I never owned a 360 during its heyday, so I have to catch up, you could say. Other notable games I love playing is Minecraft on the 360. It's old Minecraft. You can never go wrong with Minecraft. Portal was very fun. Portal 2, I did not like as much as the first Portal. I couldn't tell you why, but Portal, very, very good. The first Red Dead Redemption and its DLC were fun. Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, to name a couple other games, were absolutely amazing. Dead Island, I tried to play. It's on the, I believe, the far right there, but I find it too clunky. I've played Dead Island 2, and that's a good game, but, man, the first Dead Island is very clunky. I could not get into it. At the bottom there, we have a couple N64 games, as there's a whole shelf dedicated to N64, and I had no space. I had to put them there. I believe that's like Wave Race and Worms at the end, W. Most of my games, by the way, are alphabetized, but for certain consoles, I think up there you can see it's not very alphabetized very well. I got to reorganize after putting stuff randomly back on. We have the SNES, with, you can see in the very end, the red cartridge is Doom. Absolutely great game, the very first Doom. Other games, I got Mortal Kombat, Super Mario World, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, which they're doing a remake on. If anybody saw that Nintendo Direct, they're doing a remake on that. That'll be absolutely amazing. I've also got stuff such as F-Zero. I've got Star Fox. Games I'm looking to get still is like SimCity. SimCity is always a good one. Mortal Kombat 2 and 3. I have the first one, but I don't want to get the other 2 because that'll be fun to have. And Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon's a great game. If I could get Harvest Moon for the SNES, that'd be a blast. It's a nice, calming farming game. The very first of its genre, roughly. There were other farmer games, but Harvest Moon is the most notable one. At the very end there, we have the NES games, which I'll go into detail in a sec. I also wanted to point out, though, I have a 360 wireless Halo Reach controller. That's very cool. And then NES controller right there. And then the little Switch Joy-Con controller, which, if you don't want to have the Joy-Con separately, you can plug them into that thing, and it's like a weird makeshift looking controller, which is still really fun to use. But now, with the NES games, I only have 3, and those are the Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, Super Mario Brothers 3, and the Friday the 13th game. I have these separate. I haven't played them a lot, like I said, I have beaten them, but they all look new and shiny, which always, I've really tried to see if they are authentic or they're fake and reproduced. I can never really tell. I mean, they go to show authentic. They have all the signs and whatnot, but I haven't really opened them up. But they just look so new and shiny that I don't know if they are. They kind of look like they're fake. But I mean, these are definitely the weird nosebleeds of games, but they're still a lot of fun, especially Friday the 13th. Such a goofy game. Here we have all the handheld stuff. I got a very small Game Boy library, but I got Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Red, Pokemon Gold, Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. That's all Game Boy / Game Boy Color stuff. For the Game Boy Advance, I got Mario Kart. I think it's actually hooked into my Game Boy in the far right there, Game Boy Advanced SP. Then I got Super Mario Brothers 2, or Super Mario Brothers Advanced 1, 2, and 4, which is like Super Mario World for the Game Boy, Super Mario Bros. 2 for the Game Boy, and Super Mario Bros. 3 for the Game Boy, which is cool. I got a couple boxes for N64. I got Quest 64, I got Dr. Mario 64, and StarCraft 64. StarCraft 64, when we get into the N64 games, what a good game. That is, if you've ever played StarCraft and you want to play it on a console, it's the only console it's ever been on, it is a phenomenal, amazing game. I got 2 N64 transfer packs there, just because, I mean, if you want to trade Pokemon on the first version and don't have a link cable, you can use Pokemon Stadium 1 or Pokemon Stadium 2 to trade Pokemon as long as you have the 2 transfer packs, and that's absolutely amazing. I got a DS Lite there as well. I got a 3DS and a 2DS, new 2DS XL, I think it's called, as well as the Pokeball Plus for the Switch. Now, both of my 3DSs are actually broken, so I'm looking to get a 4th one, to a different model as well. I mean, hey, when you're a kid, you know, you break stuff all the time, especially if it's expensive and you use it a lot, and that's fine. DS games are not alphabetized here, but they're just kind of ordered in like Mario to Pokemon to random games for both DS and 3DS games. I got Mario Party DS, Mario 64 DS remake, Mario Kart. I got Mario Kart 7. I got Mario Kart DS. I got sports games. I got Plants vs Zombies. All the Pokemon games from Pokemon Heart Gold and Platinum, Pokemon White, Pokemon X, Pokemon Ultra Moon. All of the games that were released there. I even have Pokemon Ranger, which is kind of cool. Yeah, that's that shelf there, or that individual shelf, I should say. So for this next shelf is a selection of PS4, PS5, and Nintendo Switch games. All the cases are roughly the same size, so they all go pretty well together. I mean, if you've watched this channel, you know I definitely have played a lot of different PS4 games / PS5. I've played Ark, DayZ, Fallout 4, Fallout 76. I've played Minecraft. I even have some Red Dead Redemption 2, Terraria, which are digital games, but I do want to collect them one day. Even if I do own them, I want to get them for the case and the game. You know, I have Last of Us 2 and Last of Us Part 1, the PS5 one. I have Guardians of the Galaxy, Dying Light 2, Dying Light 1, Walking Dead, Telltale Games, all that stuff. For Switch stuff, I have your usual Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Smash, Mario Odyssey, Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Shield, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Pokemon Arceus, Pokemon Scarlet, all the new Pokemon stuff. Let's Go, all that. I got the Nintendo Switch Sports box plus the game in there. But I'm definitely looking for a bunch of them, like Kirby, his new game, the 3D one. I'm Forgotten World, I believe it's called. The big one, Splatoon 3, Mario Strikers, the new one. I'm looking for a lot of them. But now, one of my favorite shelves is the N64. Now, looking at it right now with the N64 controller there and the GameCube controller, by the way, you saw some other controllers like PS5 and Switch controllers up there. This one doesn't look very good, because the N64, I love the console, love the games, but one of the gripes I have with it, they don't have end labels. So it just looks like a gray mess and with a few select colors in there. The gold and silver one is Pokemon Stadium 2, next to it is Pokemon Stadium. The black ones are, I believe I have Madden 2002, I've got a Tony Hawk game. Again, they're not, it doesn't look very good. Some of the best games I own, though, Harvest Moon 64 is a step up from Harvest Moon on the SNES, and it's a great game with more vegetables to farm, more stuff to do, more like people and quests and more animals, that sort of thing. Pokemon Stadium 2 and Pokemon Stadium 1 are absolute blast. Pokemon Stadium 2 is just the first game, but better with more Pokemon. Awesome mini games, that sort of thing. GoldenEye 007, a great multiplayer game, still fun to play today. StarCraft 64, as I mentioned, is literally StarCraft and its DLC Brood War, if you have the expansion pack, on the console, and it's so much fun to play. There's no online, obviously, but you can play a local multiplayer split screen, which if you're playing with a sibling or playing with a friend, it's an absolute blast. Other games I have, Worms Armageddon 64, that's a really rare one. I'll go into my rarest games in a bit, but that's definitely a hard one to get, and it's still Worms, a lot of fun. It's literally Worms on the N64 with rockets and sheep explosions, and yeah, I said sheep. It's so much fun. I got, you know, your usual as well, the Mario sports games, Mario Party 2, none of the other ones though yet. Mario Kart, Smash, I got Super Mario 64, of course. Paper Mario is one of the best RPGs I've ever played of all time. That's on here, at least the start. Grandfather's kind of like Super Mario RPG for the SNES. Paper Mario is the start of the Mario RPGs, it's great. This little shelf here contains some other controllers like 2 third-party GameCube and 1 main party GameCube, 1 third-party SNES and 1 main SNES, and then of course the GameCube mic. The GameCube mic, while it could only be used for like I think 4 or 5 games, mine, the only one I have is Mario Party 6, I believe. It's still a really good little item there. And of course, again, controllers. You need to have multiple controllers somewhere. From here, though, we go to another cool shelf, which is Wii and GameCube. For Wii games, we got the main, Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, Super Mario Bros. For the Wii, Mario Strikers, Mario Party, Mario Kart, Paper Mario, which I unironically don't like. I don't like this Paper Mario. Every other Paper Mario, people don't like Color Splash, and people don't like Sticker Star. Some people like Origami King. I think those are all good because they're an RPG element with fighting. I don't like this one because it doesn't really have the RPG element. That's why I never really liked the Wii one. But I have Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door for the GameCube. That's a great game. I just picked up Eternal Darkness. That's a lot of fun. Eternal Darkness is so cool. It's a psychological thriller, M-rated game by Nintendo themselves, so it's a great game. I've got Gun, which I've shown before in the Texas Chainsaw video. I've got your usual, again, Smash Brothers for GameCube and Wii. I've got Mario Sunshine, I've got Mario Kart Double Dash, Paper Mario, as I said, Namco Museum 64, which is a bunch of like arcade-style games on the GameCube, which is really cool. What else do we got here? I got some of the Lego Star Wars games. I got all the Skylanders on the Wii: Skylanders Spyro's Adventure, Skylander Giant, Skylanders Swap Team, Skylanders Trap Team, I think that one, the 4th one, and then the racing-only Skylanders Superchargers. I never played any of them after Superchargers. I played the racing game a tiny bit, but the first Skylanders game will always be amazing. If I ever get another shelf, I'll have a shelf dedicated to all the Skylanders I've collected. I'm not going to show any of those here, but maybe in the future if I do an update. Of course, you have Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort. You have Wario Land. That's a cool game. Rampage is always fun. A newer arcadey version. Of course, back to the GameCube here, we switch. I have Mario Baseball, and I really want to get Mario Strikers, the original, because that's absolutely a blast. But all in all, this is the end of the game shelf, and it's awesome that I've been able to collect so many retro games. I'll throw up one of my favorites here on the screen for a second as I continue talking. But of course, it is, again, always going to be a blast to collect and play new games, especially when you haven't grown up playing them. They're a lot older than you are. And then you actually get to experience them in real time with the original, maybe manual, original artwork, original console. It's always fun. That's why I'm not a big fan of emulation. Yeah, it's free, but you don't get to experience it how it was supposed to be played. But now we'll go on to some of the questions you might have, collectors, starting with, what is my personal rarest game that I own? So this is it. I think I've mentioned it a few times, but Worms Armageddon for the Nintendo 64 is my rarest game that I own. It took me 2 years to finally collect it, and I'm not like one person who, like, again, I understand if you collect coins or stamps, I mean, you don't use them for anything. If you collect books and video games, whatever, you get to use them and, read them and play them. But if you just collect stuff not to use them, I don't understand you, like, sure, do your own thing, but if you're not going to use it, whatever. I wanted this game to play, and I played Worms Armageddon so far 4 times over. Great game. Awesome game. Very rare. Very close to it is a full, complete box of StarCraft 64 manual box game. I've mentioned it a couple times throughout the video, but it's a great game again. It's literally the PC version of StarCraft 1 and its DLC Brood War on the console, on the N64, my favorite console, so it's just an automatic awesome game. Moving on to the second question you might have for a collector. Do you have the must-haves? Now, the must-haves are really focused on Nintendo games, or Nintendo, and then also first parties for other consoles. We'll just look at Nintendo here. But do you have the Mario game? I got Mario 64. Do you have Mario Kart, which is usually on it? Yep, I got Mario Kart 64. Do you have Smash Brothers? Yep. Do you have the Mario Party? Yep. Do you have the Mario Sports games? Sure. Do you have the RPG Mario game, which is, Mario and Luigi, or Mario Paper Mario, or Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars? Paper Mario, there you go. For the N64, do you have GoldenEye? There it is, GoldenEye 007. Do you have the Pokemon games? Yep, I got Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Stadium 2, Pokemon Snap. I do have Pokemon Puzzle League. It's just not as big as a must-have on the N64 as the other 3, because these 3 are the biggest Pokemon games. So yeah, there you go. Do you have the Zelda game? Yep, I have Ocarina of Time. I don't have Majora's Mask, though. It is one game I do have to get still. Do you have the Kirby game? Yep, down the bottom right there. Kirby and the Crystal Shards. It's a great game, good platformer. It's very small, around 4 to 5 hours. I beat it in one day, but it was still a lot of fun to play. You get to mix and match the powers. And then for the last must-have, I believe, for the N64, there is Diddy Kong Racing, another racing game made by the same people who did GoldenEye It's bigger. Rare was a big developer. A Donkey Kong 64 is usually here. I don't have it though, sadly. So that's probably the last must-have is Donkey Kong 64. But Diddy Kong Racing, good racing game, just as good as Mario Kart 64. It is very fun. There's like flying, water, and dirt racing levels. So again, those are the usual must-haves. For other consoles, of course, Minecraft is a guaranteed must-have if there's Minecraft on anything. I do have it on the Switch. I just couldn't find my copy. But there's 360, PS3, PS4, Xbox One. There's the 3DS. There's the PS Vita. There's the Wii U. There's the Switch. I think there's the Raspberry Pi. There's PC. If there's anything in Minecraft, you should have Minecraft. Minecraft's always a must-have. Other must-haves, though, are, like I said, are first parties, which I'm not going to show because I don't have a lot of them. But it's like The Last of Us, Gears of War, Halo, a Call of Duty, not all of them, but a Call of Duty for your system. Uncharted, say for PlayStation. Forza Forza or whatever for, I think Forza's on Xbox. I could be wrong. Gran Turismo's PlayStation, right? There you go. Now, the next question you may have is what's my favorite game of all time? What's on the screen right here? Super Mario Galaxy 2. The first one was an absolute blast on the Wii, but when they released the second one, the Yoshi, and even like harder Bowser fights, I fell in love with the game. I've played it recently. It still holds up to this day. It's the first game. People can disagree with me on this one, but it's the first game, but better. I love Super Mario Galaxy 2. It's tied for my favorite game of all time, Minecraft. Great game. Now, before we end off the video, I did want to just look at some games that are, in my collection that I really enjoy. They're not necessarily my favorite, and they're not necessarily well known, but I just thought I'd point out them as fun games. Pokken Tournament, which is Tekken, but Pokemon, a very fun game. Battlefield Hardline, where it's a Battlefield game, but you're a cop, and there's a campaign. I've never played the multiplayer because I had it on the 360. A very fun game. Gun, which is like a very early version of Red Dead Redemption, not by Rockstar, but by Activision. I talked about it before. Very fun game. Pokepark for the Wii, where you play as Pikachu and do side quests and missions. A very fun game. You battle a little bit, do mini games. Of the Marvel Avengers, unironically, the story I don't care about. I don't care about the DLC or anything at all. I just like playing the characters. That was really fun. Again, that's a very hot take, but I thought it was a really good game. For DS and 3DS, I didn't really have any Game Boys that I thought stuck out to me because they're all well-known games. But Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, the title's cut off there, my bad. But Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, very fun game where you get to go and fight bosses as 3 different Spider-Man. Like the 2099, he can glide, Noir is stronger, and normal Spider-Man. Pokemon X is by far one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time. It's not as talked about as others for some reason. I don't know why, but Mega Evolution, all the Pokemon that they added, super cool. I have good memories playing FIFA 15 with friends and family. It's a fun game to play even now and then. Again, it's an older FIFA game, and most people don't talk about them, but it's fun, especially on a handheld device. And Plants vs. Zombies on the DS. It's not, the hard original PC version or whatever, but you can't go wrong with Plants vs. Zombies, especially on the DS, when it holds up just as well, if not better. And finally, some N64 games I got. Virtual Pool, it's just a pool game. I mean, if that's your sort of thing, sure. I like playing it, especially against AIs, because they're actually really tricky to go against. Golden Nugget Casino 64, or Golden Nugget 64, is a massive casino from Las Vegas with a bunch of games like slots and poker. Love poker. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. It's not Rainbow Six Siege. It's more of a story mode where it's a lot realistic. It's a tactical shooter, very fun. Battle Tanks and NASCAR. NASCAR 2000, just a good racing game with NASCAR people. And then Battle Tanks, of course, is just really fun where you get to drive a tank. And if you're lucky, you might get the nuke power up where you can blow up the whole world. I talked about Harvest Moon 64, a very good farming game, and Resident Evil 2. An absolute crazy game that somehow happened. A 2-disc PS1 game that somehow fit onto an N64 cartridge. When it was 1.4 gigabytes, they smushed it down to a 64 megabyte cartridge. It's slower, the audio's not as good, but honestly, it's really good. They've even added more, like there's different blood colors and stuff. It's a lot of fun on the N64. But yeah, that was the main retro collection questions, and of course, there is my game shelf to end off the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. That was my game collection. If you ever want to see something similar when I've updated it, in a couple of years or a couple of months, just collecting more games, of course, I'll always show that off if you want. But as we end off, I have one question for you guys. Put in the comments, what is your favorite game and why? But I hope you guys did enjoy nonetheless. Maybe leave a like, maybe leave a nice comment down below, maybe hit that subscribe button for hitting that little bell. See you guys next time for some random fun stuff like this. Bye, guys.